Hey everybody, clearing. All right, I am going to do a little bit of a different reading. It's going to be based on the chakra levels, but I was about to do something else and was totally drawn to do a reading. So we're going to look at what is the divine alignment available right now. What are we meant to look at on all the chakra levels? So I'm not going to do this in masculine and feminine. I'm just going to keep a focal column and look at the energies, and you can apply that the way that you'd like to in your life. Okay, so thank you, Divine Creator. What is it that this collective that joins me here, that will see this video, most needs to know about their connection, about love, romantic love in their life? What is the baseline that they can look at and calibrate with regarding their scenario, their life, their perspective at this time through the chakras? Thank you for using me as only the highest, most beneficial channel of information. Okay, conscious connection to source. Emotionally, there's bravery required right now. So divine guidance might be inspiring you to take brave action in some regard. This can be speaking to others around you. It can be making decisions, even if you know that the culture around you, your friends, your family, your co-workers would beg to differ with your decision. This is you stepping into the sovereign leadership of your life. That doesn't mean that you're doing things in a belligerent way or defiant way, in in a negative way, but this is you owning the decisions that you're being guided to take, and not just shrinking or playing small because you're deviating from the perceived norms. This is an emotional bravery. So it does require that whatever you're facing, you're going to have to decide things that your emotions at first are not imprinted or conditioned to look at it the way that you know your heart is telling you you need to see it. So this is where you might be starting to see that the established ways of doing things are not life affirming. In some regard, you might be seeing beyond that, and that your connection to source is starting to illuminate the difference between the holding patterns, the status quo, the typical, the conditioned, and the truth of what you know is a better way. So this is about you trusting and individuating from the herd and stepping into leadership. Mentally, we have authenticity. Yes, so this is energy of authenticity supports our choice to be genuine and truthful in all aspects of our lives with others as well as ourselves. So this emotional assessment is really you and your authenticity coming to the forefront, and this is going to require that you tell yourself and others who you really are and what you really know to be true, and to not just stay quiet or to go along people pleasing, but to actually step into what you know is your birthright. I just heard. So your own path, your gifts, your talents, your truth. And physically, what does this require? Prayer. So I'm seeing some not knowing how to embody this authenticity. And on the crown chakra, you are being asked to go straight to your connection to source, to understand how to make sense of what you're being guided to step into. Some of it might be things that you've never shared with friends and family. And you stepping out on this authentic path is going to require that you don't know how to navigate this because you've never done this motion before. You have been holding back, you have been playing small. So the only way that you can go up and beyond what has been modeled, what the cap in the physical is to go to source. On the crown chakra, you're being invited to go to your connection to source and specifically ask, how do I step forward? How do I step into doing the right thing? How do I show others more of my truth, my authentic soul, essence, perspective, opinion, path? How do I embark on that more sincerely? That is such a beautiful thing to get on the crown chakra. So this is like Source is inviting you to connect and deepen your relationship to the universe, the cosmos, divine, creator, God, your free will. You have to take the initiative to connect that way. Ask and it is given. So this is an invitation and a reminder to go to Source in how to align most authentically with your soul essence. What can we see intuitively, emotionally? Ooh, anxiety. So there are some anxieties going on emotionally. This is where our head and our heart are out of alignment. So our heart is wanting something, but our minds maybe don't know how we can get that. There seems to be an impasse, a disconnect, or a conflict of interest between what we want and what we think we can have. And so pay attention to that, because it's an illusion that your heart can't win. What you're truly being guided on the heart level, the outcome or the direction that you are feeling guided in, your logical mind might be coming up with all sorts of excuses or deal breakers or misconceptions, bad attitude about what your heart is telling you, undermining, all those things. You don't have to know how it will work out to sink into your heart and trust. Conversely, if you're having all these counterintuitive thoughts, you can begin to actually shift those by looking for slightly better feeling ways to do that. Or you could say, what would I need to believe is true, or how would I need to look at this situation so that my heart could justifiably have what it's telling me it wants? And you can shift your mindset. What is the conscious mind? Tenderness. So be tender about these impasses that you might be feeling, because there's a valid reason why it's so difficult and why there is such a deep contradictory energy here. You have to be tender about that. So whether it's trauma or wounding that's caused you to feel such a disconnect, or whether it's what you think you see out in the world, in a broken world, whatever it may be, there's tenderness required here to say, you know what, my heart is pure, my heart, I can trust it. My heart won't lead me astray. Your heart always knows the right direction. Go that way. But the tenderness that needs to come in is that gentle energy that says, don't stop believing in it. Don't put out that flame in your heart. The energy of tenderness activates our capacity to open our hearts and approach the world and each other with gentleness and care. Have compassion for yourself and others here. So intuitively, it looks like this anxiety or this impasse can be remedied if we remember to have a tender approach. It doesn't have to be with force, but this is saying that tenderness will show you the way. That any kind of anxiety you're having, there is a solution that can only be found with deep tenderness about the scenario right now. I'm hearing that, specifically in these divine love connections, when we feel like something isn't available to us because our counterpart seems to be reflecting back a dead end energy, the tenderness can be that they wouldn't be reflecting that back if there was nothing but love that can speak of wounding, or the compassion needed to see that fear does some freaky things in our perception of reality and what we think is possible. So that tender compassion, I'm hearing, use your intuition to really understand that love is in the highest, it's in the up and up. And if things are not functioning on that level, they are not the deepest truth, which is love. And so seek that love in all things, seek that perspective, that loving interpretation that dispels the seriousness of the fear that we would buy into, that would cause us to have a conflict in our perception. What can we see for the material realm? Look at the codependency. Codependency is hallmarked by giving our power away to something external and not being in this brave, individuated leadership, ownership, authentic embodiment of our authenticity. When we give our power away, we buy into the idea that things are not possible. And so this is saying, use your intuition to reclaim that idea that you are not at the mercy of external situations, circumstances, perceptions, that there is always a remedy in your perception internally that can take you out of lower vibrational suffering perceptions and take you out of lower vibrational suffering experiences, internally and externally. So use your intuition wisely to find those impasses and to bring tenderness to them and to unhook from codependency in that thinking. 1111. What can we see on the throat chakra? Emotionally, we have balance. So speak ye with balance, I just heard. So you'll notice that the way that you're communicating is going to be more balanced, more healed. It's going to have fire and water, so it will be passionate yet cooling. It will be inspired yet no pressure. It's very zen. What can we see mentally here? Consciousness. The frequency of consciousness supports our ability to focus our attention on the multidimensional aspects that show up so we can include them in our reality. Yeah, so we've got fire and water here. So this is a growing ability to walk that middle path, to see things from multiple angles at once, to honor that multidimensional reality, to factor in those layers, and yet to have that median energy that is able to surf the collection of things that you are aware of. So intellectually, your comprehension, your consciousness is expanding. When we have a limited view of reality, we think in black and white, yes and no, this and that. The duality is the duality, and we're stuck in it. When we expand our consciousness, we see beyond that, and it becomes a more fulfilling experience in many ways. That things can coexist. They don't have to be at odds. We start to see other ways of looking at things. Physically, Seven of Water, clarity coming in. This is in the inverse. So the confusion, the illusion, the spreading too thin, the fantasy, all of these things are coming into coherence. As our consciousness expands to include more factors, the confusion is being dispelled because we're becoming more capable of including more textured awarenesses. It's not so cut and dry. There's more compassion coming in, more room for holding space for things that we would previously be inconvenienced by or take offense to or not have patience for. These things are becoming less troublesome. What can we see on the heart space emotionally? Secrets, deep subconscious secrets are being seen for what they are. Secrets in the inner workings of reality, of our deeper perspectives. It's safe to see things in holistic, expanded ways. When we have a limited capacity, we like things to be controlled and predictable. When we expand our consciousness, it's not that anything goes. It's not that we tolerate injustice or deceit or violence or imbalance things. But we can hold space for the becoming, the growth, the perspective that loves unconditionally. That doesn't mean we have to put up with things or just simply reject. We become more loving on the heart space. Solar plexus chakra, the empowerment. So this love, this compassion on the heart space brings in empowerment. The solar plexus chakra, yellow flower of life, supports our sense of self, our personal power, our willpower, as well as our knowing of who we are and what our contribution is to the whole. So this is about us doing our best, being empowered, but not rejecting others because they're not there yet, not being condemning. We don't have to align ourselves with things that are not life affirming and we don't have to lower our frequency to put up with and match those things. We can have healthy boundaries, but that's where the empowerment comes in, that we know what to take and leave, that it's not a rejection, it's actually love to not align with things that are not of love. But this gives you choice. This gives you choice. On the heart space, you're expanding your consciousness to be able to see clearly whether something is empowering or not to engage in, whether thoughts are empowering or not, whether actions are empowering or not. What is happening in the physical? The Chariot. This is a developmental stage that has been required for you to move into the next cycle of your experience with momentum. This is like doing an overhaul on your car, oil change, rotating the tires, all of that before a road trip, so that you can have your journey with confidence. What can we see? So the heart expanding here to the empowered level, you're not at the mercy of your circumstances. You're proactive here. You're taking a proactive role. What can we see on the solar plexus chakra? Commitment. So when we're empowered, when we know what we align with and what we don't align with, we don't say yes to things that are not aligned. And therefore, we can be confident with what we're saying yes to. Our yes can be our yes. Our no can be our no. We're taking the guesswork out of it. And synergy. The frequency of synergy supports our allowance of and acceptance of the not so obvious, never seen before combinations and unions that result in new ways of functioning, working, thinking, relating, loving, and being. It reminds us to embrace the unfamiliar so that new yet exciting co-creations can give birth to a new reality. So when we know ourselves and frequencies, and when our awareness, our consciousness has expanded to the point where we can feel into the resonance of things that we're being offered. We can know if it is suffering or freedom, fear or love. And we can say yes to the things that are truly resonant on a higher level, and no to the things that don't feel as balanced or good or peace-inducing. When we do that, we can really have synergy. And that is our true empowerment. You know, before we are trusting ourselves, we say yes to things that don't necessarily feel totally right to us. And then we can say we've made our bed, we have to sleep in it, or we have to get ourselves out of it. So now this is about being equipped to not get into things that don't feel right. And to trust that more sincerely so that we can actually have empowered and synergistic experiences that are making love, that are adding value, that are contributing innovation into the world. What can we see in the material realm? You don't have to force anything. This is about being in flow and simply navigating to and from things that feel balanced and right, authentic, peaceful, or not. Going towards the things that do, away from the things that don't. That is unconditional love, really. Unconditional love is not being a doormat, putting up with all of it. It's literally trusting that if something is lower vibrational, you're not being loving by saying no, thank you. Okay, what is the sacral chakra? Emotionally, we got 2. Okay, I just heard the wait is over for something that hasn't been causing you happiness. So something that has been a carryover from a time when you made poor choices. This can be karma. This can be things you've been putting up with. Those things are about to be released from your life. And this is the sacral chakra. So anything that's capped your experience of pleasure or your ability to align with things that create deep, authentic pleasure in your life, mediocre energies, mundane energies, settling energies, shrinking energies, playing small. Those times are available to be done. Emotionally, you do not have to put up with that anymore. You can have an extraordinary life. Do not say yes to anything mediocre ever again. You don't have to. What is your thought around this? 6th chakra, intuition, supports our inner sight and intuitive abilities. So if something is causing you to have a meh energy, don't say yes to it. Wait out for something that is more magical, more beautiful, more life-filled. You don't have to clog up your day planner with things you're not that into. What can we see here? Union. Wow. So in the material realm, this is bringing full alignment. If you don't settle, you're not clogging up your reality with things that aren't quite good enough, pleasurable, alive. This is about aliveness. Use your intuition to know if what you're saying yes to is aliveness or not. What can we see on the root chakra emotionally? Surrender. Surrender to knowing that it's all up to you. What you say yes to, what you say no to, it's all up to you. Understand that and fully surrender to just letting your yes be yes and your no be no based on your perception, your awareness of what alignment is. What can we see? And that means life affirming, righteousness. Alignment is that pure, righteous, balanced, authentic, truthful, love-based energy. And emergence. Emergence invites us to approach our reality with a childlike attitude of innocence and wonderment and watch and celebrate the beauty that unfolds from that place. The Daughter of Cups is also a sweet surrender. So this is like, pack this permission in your back pocket as you go about your day to emerge with the simplicity of a child. Does it feel right or not to say yes or to do certain things? Go back to that place in yourself that understands it from that non-verbal, non-analytical point of view. Does it sit well with your gut instinct and your heart or not? And in the physical, 7 of air. Okay, I heard the cat's being let out of the bag. This is your secret power. This is your superpower, is to just be able to know if something that you are potentially able to experience feels like your yes and your no. Wow, beautiful, sweet, simple message. Many blessings, everyone. Bye for now.